The day unfolded like any ordinary one. Leaving work slightly past 5, I hummed a lively tune as I navigated home. My wife, Emily, ever the beloved one, had been the cornerstone of my life since college. Despite the years presenting their share of hardships, our bond seemed indestructible. Or so it seemed. Upon entering the kitchen, I found Emily seated at the table, a glass of red wine in her hand. On the counter lay a bottle of my preferred whiskey, Monkey Shoulder, and a glass prepared for me. My lips curled into a smile, assuming she had arranged an enjoyable evening for us. Unbeknownst to me, my world was on the verge of being flipped upside down. "Hello, dear," I said, depositing my briefcase and pouring myself a drink. "What's the celebration for?" Emily raised her gaze to mine, her countenance unusually tranquil. "David, we need to discuss something," she said, her voice even but detached. A knot tightened in my stomach. "What's happening?" I inquired, attempting to maintain a light tone. She took a sip of her wine, then set the glass down deliberately. "Have you ever wondered if I've been a good wife?" she inquired, gazing intently at me. I furrowed my brow, uncertain of the direction this conversation was taking. "However, you've been fantastic. Why would you ask that question?" She let out a sigh, looking down at the table. "Recently, I've been doing a lot of thinking and have come to a conclusion. I desire more experiences. I wish to date other men." Her words struck me with the force of a sledgehammer. I remained silent, unable to fully comprehend what she had just revealed. "What do you mean, date other men?" Emily nodded resolutely. "I'm not seeking a divorce, and I still love you, David. But I yearn for exploration. I long to discover what else is out there before it's too late." My thoughts whirled. We've been a couple for more than 2 decades, built a life, raised a family. Why the sudden desire now? She reached across the table and held my hand. "Because I'm getting older, and I don't want to have any regrets. I've given you everything, remained faithful for so long. I simply crave this, David." I demanded, "It's for me." Withdrawing my hand, I felt a turmoil of fury and despair. "But what about us? What about our marriage? Can't I do anything while you explore?" Her eyes brimmed with tears, but she remained firm. "I don't expect it to be simple, but please try to comprehend. This isn't about you, it's about me." I pushed myself up from the chair, causing it to screech against the floor. "I can hardly believe what you're saying. You want to date other men while I stay here, feeling foolish." Emily rose as well, her voice escalating. "I don't wish to cause you pain, but I can't suppress this urge. I must do this, David. I must." The room seemed to swirl around me. I snatched my whiskey and gulped it down, the burn in my throat echoing the blaze within my chest. "This is irrational, Emily. Totally irrational." She gazed at me with a blend of sadness and resolve. "I realize it's difficult to grasp, but I'm asking you to trust me." "I'll return to you." I declined, moving away. "I can't. I just can't." Emily's expression fell, and she departed upstairs to alter her attire. I watched her leave, experiencing a combination of heartache and astonishment. How could everything transform so swiftly? How could the person I cherished beyond comparison choose to forfeit her life for temporary adventures? I remained motionless for what seemed like ages, gazing at where she had been. The blare of a car horn outside brought me back to reality. I peered out the window to see a sleek black vehicle parked at the curb. Emily emerged downstairs, looking radiant in a small black dress that accentuated her figure. She cast a glance at me, her eyes beseeching empathy. "I'll be back later," she whispered. I remained silent. I couldn't. I simply watched as she exited, leaving me solitary with a broken heart and countless unresolved questions. As the car departed, I collapsed into a chair, my head in my hands. My leg felt turned over, leaving me puzzled about how to reassemble myself. Alone in the kitchen, I fixed my gaze on the vacant whiskey glass before me, still grappling with the impact of Emily's disclosure. The reality of it all was yet to settle. How did we arrive at this juncture? I traced our journey back to the start, trying to make sense of the sequence of events that had led us here. In college, we crossed paths. She was vivacious, intriguing a girl coveted by many, and I, an unassuming individual who somehow caught her attention. Our bond grew swiftly, characterized by late-night discussions, impromptu escapades, and an authentic bond. By graduation, we were inseparable, and soon after, we exchanged vows. The early years were a symphony of joy and anticipation. We embarked on journeys, discovered new horizons, and constructed a life together. Emily was my support, my confidante, and my dearest friend. Our dialogues encompassed our aspirations and apprehensions, our dreams and insecurities. We were partners, confronting the world side by side. Over the passage of time, we established a cozy routine. We acquired a house, welcomed two charming offspring, and put our energy into our professions. Our lives were brimming with activity, yet we consistently found moments for one another. Date nights, weekend escapes, and tranquil evenings at home fortified our connection. I had believed that we were content. I thought she was content, but in retrospect, I recognized symptoms I had overlooked. Emily had an innate ability to captivate people around her. She found the attention and validation from others unsettling. I perceived it as part of her allure, never suspecting it could foster dissatisfaction. Several years ago, I observed a shift in her. She appeared restless, often preoccupied. She increased social engagements with friends, reducing time at home. I chose to disregard it, attributing it to a fleeting phase, something she required to address privately. I never anticipated it was a harbinger of the revelation she delivered tonight. Memories swamped me as I sat there, each one serving as a memento of what we had constructed together. Our wedding day, the arrival of our children, numerous instances of shared laughter and love. I had poured my heart into this marriage, and now it felt like it was slipping from my grasp. The sound of Emily's voice reverberated in my mind. I yearned for more experiences. I wished to date other men. How could she say that? How could she discard everything we had for a fleeting excitement? I struggled to comprehend it. I rose and wandered through the house, each room serving as a monument to our shared past. The living room where we watched movies with the kids, the dining room where we enjoyed family meals, the bedroom where we confided our dreams in each other at night. It all felt so delicate now, as if it might shatter at any moment. In our bedroom, I discovered a photo album on the nightstand. I opened it, turning the pages filled with pictures of our shared past. There we sat, content and brimming with optimism, our future unfolding ahead like a luminous path. Every photograph narrated a tale, a segment of our voyage. I halted at a snapshot of us on our honeymoon. We stood on a beach, the sun setting behind us, our arms encircling each other. The grins on our faces were authentic, mirroring the affection and exhilaration we felt. I ran my fingers over the picture, questioning where that couple had vanished to. Had I fallen short of her in some manner? Had I overlooked the indications she required more than I could provide? Doubt and bewilderment churned inside me, each contemplation more agonizing than the preceding one. I had always believed in our love, in the durability of our promise. Now I wasn't as convinced. I slumped onto the bed, feeling the burden of the night pressing upon me. Emily's words reverberated in my mind, each echo a fresh jab of pain. I needed to communicate with someone to grasp this chaos, but who could I approach? Friends wouldn't grasp the situation, nor could I burden our kids with it. As I gazed at the ceiling, I acknowledged that my life had been permanently altered. The future was vague, and the route ahead was uncertain. However, one thing was definite: I couldn't continue feigning normalcy. I needed to address this matter directly for my well-being and our family's sake. With a heavy heart, I decided to find a way forward. Emily and I needed to have an honest discussion about our marriage, about what we desired and where we were heading. I wasn't prepared to abandon us yet. Yet, I couldn't disregard the situation's truth. We stood at a juncture, and the decisions we made would determine the rest of our lives. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the curtains, I surrendered to sleep, fatigue taking over. Tomorrow would bring fresh challenges, new questions, and perhaps some answers. But for now, I required respite. The road before us would be tough and lengthy, yet I was resolute to confront it with fortitude and lucidity. The following day, I awoke with a burdened heart and an equally weighty head. Emily was downstairs already, her customary cheerful hum absent. I gathered my resolve, preparing myself for the discussion we had to have. As I made my way down the stairs, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee permeated the air, a stark contrast to the tension that persisted between us. Emily sat at the kitchen table, sipping her coffee. She looked up as I entered, her eyes mirroring a blend of remorse and resolve. "Good morning," she whispered. I filled my own cup and took a seat opposite her. "We need to speak," I said, my voice even but decisive. She nodded, placing her cup aside. "I am aware. For now." We sat in quietness, the unspoken words casting a heavy shadow between us. Eventually, I broke the silence. "David, I must explain my reasons. Why suddenly? Why am I yearning to delve into other relationships following so many years?" She sighed, her shoulders drooping a touch. "David, I have always loved you. But lately, I felt this unease, this compulsion to live more before it's too late. It's not about you. It's about me and what I think is lacking in my life. I don't expect this to be simple, but I hope you would comprehend that I need this time to sort things out." "Figure things out?" I repeated, incredulous. "Emily, you're discussing our marriage, our shared life. Can you truly accept this?" She stiffened slightly. "David, I require this. I have given you so much for over 20 years. This is something I must do." I abruptly rose from my seat, causing the chair to grate against the floor. "This is irrational, Emily. You can't alter the principles of our marriage merely because you're feeling uneasy." She mirrored my stance, her voice escalating. "I have to do this. I'm suffocating here, David. I need to explore other possibilities before it's too late." My composure began to waver as anger and pain combined into a dangerous concoction. "So you want an open marriage now? You want to go out and enjoy yourself while I remain at home, a fool?" She retreated a step, her eyes widening in surprise. "I never proposed the idea of an open marriage. I merely seek time to sort things out." "Time? How much time, Emily? Weeks? Months? Years?" My voice trembled now, the gravity of the predicament striking me hard. Emily looked down, tears streaming freely down her face. "I don't know," she murmured. I was overwhelmed. "I can't do this," I said, my voice cracking. "I can't continue like this, constantly worrying about when you'll return and whom you might be with. It's too much." Her eyes pleaded with me, filled with desperation. "David, please try to comprehend." "I won't," I responded resolutely. "I can't." She advanced towards me, but I retreated. "What are you saying?" she asked, her voice quivering. "I'm telling you this is over, Emily. If you cannot dedicate yourself to our marriage, then there's no future for us." She gazed at me in disbelief. "You can't mean that." "I do," I affirmed, my resolve unyielding. "I love you, but I can't share you. If you wish to pursue other relationships, then do so without me." The ensuing quiet was oppressive. Emily's countenance crumbled, and she departed upstairs without uttering a word more. I observed her leave, a confluence of sorrow and relief sweeping over me. The subsequent days were a haze. We steered clear of each other, the tension in our home evident. I immersed myself in work, attempting to disengage from the torment. Each silent moment echoed with thoughts of Emily and the life we had crafted together. One evening, I arrived home to see Emily packing a suitcase. Her eyes were red from crying as she looked up at me upon my entrance. In a soft voice, she told me she was going to stay with her sister for a while. I could only nod, unable to find the words. Though it pained me deeply, I knew this distance was necessary. We needed room, time to sort out our feelings and desires. As she departed, I felt an unusual blend of sadness and relief. The house seemed eerily quiet, almost tranquil, yet the void was unbearable. I settled onto the couch, fixated on the empty space where Emily had been. Our marriage teetered on the brink, and I was unsure of our future. However, one truth was undeniable. I couldn't live indefinitely in a state of limbo. It was time to confront tough choices, to acknowledge the reality of our predicament. I loved Emily, but I could not endure a life brimming with uncertainty and hurt. It was time for a new journey, even if it meant relinquishing the past. Weeks slipped into months, and I gradually acclimated to my altered circumstances. Intermittent conversations with Emily helped us maneuver through our estrangement. It was difficult but essential for both of us. The future loomed uncertain, yet I knew one indisputable fact. I needed to steer the course of my own joy, requiring tough decisions. Despite their potential discomfort, the days after Emily's absence presented a curious blend of liberation and solitude. I pined deeply for her presence, but at the same time, there was an alleviation as if a burden had been removed from me. The dwelling was hushed, and our long-standing routine shattered, providing ample room for contemplation. On one particular night, my fingers danced across my phone screen when a message from an old acquaintance, Mark, appeared. Time had worn away our connection, but his message held no pretense. Let's reconnect. Drinks this week. After a brief pause, I weighed the decision before responding. On Friday, I met up with Mark at Joe's Bar, a place overflowing with nostalgia from brighter moments. As soon as he spotted me, his smile widened. "Hey, David," he greeted, giving me a friendly slap on the back. "Been a while," I acknowledged, settling down next to him. We ordered drinks and began reminiscing about the past, updating each other on our lives. Our chat gradually became more serious as Mark inquired, "So, what's going on with Emily?" he asked cautiously. I sighed deeply, taking a deep drink of my whiskey. "It's tricky. We're apart at the moment. She's looking to explore new relationships." Mark raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Wow, that sounds tough. How are you coping?" I shrugged, feeling a blend of emotions. "To be honest, I don't really know. Some days are good, some bad, but I'm trying to make sense of it all. Perhaps this moment serves as a fresh start for you, allowing you to revisit dreams and pursuits you've long postponed." Your words resonated deeply, as my dedication to marriage and family had overshadowed personal ambitions for years. His suggestion of self-discovery seemed plausible. With time, I initiated small transformations. I enrolled in a gym, an aspiration long shelved. I revisited my guitar, a past passion, and began playing melodies once more. The music offered solace, serving as an outlet for emotions and a respite from mental turbulence. One evening, following an invigorating workout at the gym, I opted to indulge in a night of leisure. A new downtown bar piqued my interest, with positive reviews circulating. Dressed appropriately, I ventured out. The bar buzzed with energy, filled with people conversing and enjoying themselves. Seeking solace at the bar, I ordered a drink and savored the inviting ambience. While sipping my drink, I spotted a woman several seats away who caught my attention. She returned my glance with a warm smile and inviting eyes, stirring an unfamiliar interest within me. Gathering my nerve, I moved to the seat beside her and introduced myself as David, extending my hand. She reciprocated with a smile and a firm handshake, identifying herself as Lily. We began conversing, and I found myself divulging aspects of myself I hadn't shared in years. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, discussing our lives, aspirations, and obstacles. There was an authentic bond between us, something sincere and revitalizing. As the evening unfolded, a sense of anticipation and potential, long absent, resurfaced within me. Perhaps there was still hope for me, a prospect to rebuild my life and find happiness once more. Over the ensuing weeks, Lily and I continued our encounters. Our budding relationship brought a fresh perspective to my life, helping me reawaken dormant aspects of myself. Feeling more assured and in command of my life, I was no longer synonymous with my marriage or past experiences. Instead, I was creating a novel path for myself. One night, while seated on the couch together, Lily looked at me earnestly and asked, "David, there's something I need to ask. Are you genuinely prepared to progress? With everything concerning Emily, I must understand if you are ready for fresh opportunities." Taking her hand, I gazed into her eyes. "Lily, encountering you has been one of the most positive events in my life for quite some time. I won't deceive you. The pain of what happened with Emily still lingers, but I am prepared to advance. I desire to explore this relationship." She smiled back, her eyes brimming with warmth. "I'm relieved to hear that. I share the same sentiment." In that instant, I recognized that I was finally commencing the healing process. The pain of my past remained, but it no longer controlled me. I was rediscovering my self-value and experiencing new pleasures and new chapters. Months rolled into weeks, and my life saw a continuous transformation. I rekindled old friendships, explored fresh pastimes, and deepened my bond with Lily. My interactions with Emily were mainly for the sake of our kids, but the dynamics had changed significantly. The void and despair I once felt no longer existed. I discovered a new route teeming with optimism and potential. Though the journey was far from complete, for the first time in years, I felt hopeful about what lay ahead. I'd weathered the storm and emerged stronger, prepared to face whatever was next. The initial thrill of my newfound autonomy started settling into a stable pace. Life seemed brighter. Lily and I grew more intimate, and I made strides at work and in my personal pursuits. Yet, my past haunted me, particularly when it came to Emily. One Saturday afternoon, an unexpected call from Emily arrived. "Is it possible for us to meet?" she inquired, her voice trembling slightly. A blend of interest and apprehension filled me. "Certainly. How about 3 o'clock at the cafe on Maple Street?" Upon my arrival, Emily was already there, holding a cup of coffee. She appeared weary, the vibrancy that once characterized her now barely perceptible. I settled down opposite her, feeling uncertain. "Emily," I began, "I sense you've been pondering quite a bit." Now I understood my past error. A mixture of anger, pity, and a hint of our old affection surged within me. "Could you elaborate, Emily?" She inhaled deeply, her eyes brimming with tears. It transpired that the trying other relationships endeavor had been unsuccessful. I thought I desired more, but what I truly craved was what I had always possessed. "I miss us, David. I miss you." Her words resonated like a blow to my stomach. For a fleeting moment, I found myself reminiscing about the joyous times we once experienced together. However, the wound of her infidelity still lingered. "Emily, you can't erase the harm done. You departed seeking something different. How could I believe you won't reconsider again?" She stretched her hand over the table, it quivering. "I acknowledge causing pain, and I can't reverse that. But I've come to see my contentment depends on you. I was self-centered and unwise. I wish to rectify things if you permit." I withdrew my hand, thoughts whirling. "Emily, I'm unsure. It's not straightforward. You destroyed my trust, and it required all my strength to restructure my life. I don't believe I can return." Her face crumpled, and she wiped a tear. "I understand. I merely wished you to know how remorseful I am. If there's an opportunity, I'll be here." Pondering. We remained quiet for some time, her words heavy in the air. A part of me still cared for her, but I'd advanced too far to risk returning to the same cycle. I needed to continue moving forward for my own good. Following our encounter, I experienced a sense of conclusion. Emily's remorse was tangible, yet incapable of altering the past. Upon my arrival home, Lily welcomed me with a radiant smile and reassuring embrace, inquiring softly, "How did it go?" The conversation was intense. Emily lamented everything, but I stated that I couldn't retrace my steps. "I must keep advancing," I responded, embracing her tightly. Lily tenderly kissed my forehead. "I am proud of you, David. You have come a long way and deserve to be happy." As time progressed, Emily's efforts to reconnect diminished. She was evidently wrestling, and while a part of me empathized, I knew that my destiny lay elsewhere. Lily and I continued nurturing our bond, finding peace in her steadfast support and comprehension. One evening, while Lily and I were preparing dinner together, she turned to me seriously. "David, there's something important I need to ask you." "Yes, what is it?" "Do you still harbor feelings for Emily?" She acknowledged that she was significant in your life, needing clarity about our current status. Dropping the knife to chop veggies, I took her hands instead, acknowledging Emily's role in my past, but asserting a change in feelings towards her, indicating our history was behind us. Expressing affection for her, I emphasized my desire to construct a future with her. Her face relaxed, and she smiled, stating that was all she required to hear. Our cooking session continued, the mood lightening with hope. My life progressed, offering me a sense of tranquility about my decisions for the first time in a while. As the months passed, Lily and I developed a stronger connection. We embarked on journeys together, discovered new interests, and created numerous cherished moments. Emily remained a part of my past, serving as a reminder of the lessons learned and the strength acquired. One day, a letter arrived from Emily, thanking me for the time we spent together and expressing her sincere remorse for the pain she inflicted. She desired my contentment and tranquility, and subtly she was relinquishing control. As I read her message, a sense of conclusion swept over me. It was time to wholeheartedly accept the present and eagerly anticipate the future. Emily and I had lived a life together, but that era had concluded. Now it was time to create fresh narratives with those who held significant importance. Lily and I spent an evening on the porch, observing the sunset. She leaned her head on my shoulder, while I gently enclosed her with my arm. "To new starts," I whispered. She looked at me, her eyes radiant with affection, and to relinquishing the past. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, a feeling of satisfaction washed over me. The voyage had been arduous and painful, but I found my path, and with Lily by my side, the future seemed more luminous than ever. Life was slowly regaining its familiarity, or at least a new form of it. Emily and I were adjusting as co-parents, maintaining open lines of communication for the sake of our children. Every day, my bond with Lily was strengthening, and I found myself feeling increasingly confident. One evening, Megan phoned to arrange a dinner date. We opted for our favorite Italian restaurant, where I anxiously tapped the tabletop before her arrival. Megan was sharp-witted and perceptive. She likely picked up on the tumult in my life. When she entered, her expression softened with concern. "Hey, Dad," she greeted me, wrapping her arms around me firmly. "It's great to see you too," I responded, pulling out a chair for her. As we dined and conversed, Megan didn't mince words. "Dad, how have you truly been? I've been concerned about you," she questioned. I took a moment to compose myself. "I'm managing all right, Megan. It's been challenging, but I'm holding my ground. And you? How are things for you?" She sighed, glancing at her hands. "It's been tough. Watching you and Mom go through this has taken a toll." Despite her mistakes, I don't wish to forfeit our family bond. This hit me hard when she admitted it. "Megan, we aren't severing the family ties," I assured her. "We are still here for you and your brother. Things have simply changed." Tears filled her eyes as she acknowledged my words. "I comprehend, Dad. It can be tough to accept at times." Taking her hand, I said, "I understand, sweetheart. But please remember that both your mother and I cherish you deeply. We're navigating this new normal, and I hope you can too." Megan wiped her eyes and mustered a smile. "Thanks, Dad. All I want is for you to be content." "I am content, Megan," I replied, seeking to alleviate her concerns. "It's been a journey, but I'm getting there, and there's someone new in my life who has positively impacted me." She brightened up. "Yes, Lily. Mom mentioned her." I nodded in confirmation. "Indeed, Lily. She's been extraordinary. I believe you take a liking to her, too." Megan returned a sincere smile. After dinner, a burden lifted from my shoulders. Megan's empathy and comprehension played a significant role in my recovery. Though I knew the road ahead would still have obstacles, with the backing of my family and Lily, I felt more capable to tackle whatever life threw at me. A few weeks later, I arranged for Megan to meet Lily. We opted for a relaxed brunch at a downtown cafe. Upon arrival, Megan and Lily clicked instantly, conversing as if they were old acquaintances. Witnessing their camaraderie filled me with optimism and tranquility. "Megan, it's wonderful to finally meet you," Lily expressed warmly, giving her a hug. "Likewise, Lily. Dad has shared so much about you," Megan responded, smiling. As they conversed, I saw my life's fragments coalescing into a fresh and beautiful configuration. My daughter's acceptance meant the world to me, and observing their connection gave me confidence that I was on the proper path. Following brunch, Megan took me aside. "Dad, I genuinely like her," she said. "She appears to be an exceptional individual, identified as Megan. She has been instrumental in helping me during challenging times, for which I am truly thankful." Upon hearing this, Megan embraced me warmly. "I'm glad for you, Dad," she expressed. "You truly deserve happiness." Our family dynamics progressed over the ensuing months, with Emily and I maintaining a civil rapport focused on co-parenting. There were still tough moments, but overall, things started to improve. Lily became more involved in my life, strengthening our bond. One evening, as Lily and I cooked dinner together, I felt a tranquil wave sweep over me. "I never thought I'd find happiness again," I shared, cutting vegetables next to her. Emily looked at me, her eyes brimming with affection. "Yet you have found it," she responded, "and so have I." We exchanged a loving kiss, and in that moment, I recognized that despite the pain and hardships, life has a way of providing us with exactly what we need. As time passed, the children grew to like Lily more, and she became a cherished member of our family. Despite her own lingering regrets, Emily acknowledged my fresh contentment and worked diligently to facilitate our children's transition. One day, Megan, her brother Ryan, Lily, and I chose to spend a day at the park. We shared laughter, played games, and savored each other's company. As we lounged on a picnic blanket, watching the sunset, Megan addressed me. "Dad, I understand things didn't turn out as expected with Mom, but I'm truly happy for you now," she said, her eyes mirroring the sun's golden tones. "I am too, Megan. I am too," I responded, gripping her hand affectionately. The path had been arduous and unpredictable, yet I found my path. With the backing of my family and the love of an exceptional woman, I was prepared to welcome the future with optimism and gratitude. As the sun disappeared beneath the horizon, I felt a sense of wholeness. Life had hurled its trials at me, but I emerged stronger, enveloped by those who mattered dearly. United, we braved the uncertainties ahead, eager to craft fresh memories and safeguard the tie that linked us. Life had assumed a harmonious rhythm, one that seemed balanced and brimming with potential. With my past safely left behind, I zeroed in on the future, constructing a novel narrative with Lily. Our bond had strengthened, and it was evident we possessed something extraordinary. Yet, there remained instances when the past would insidiously intrude, casting pallor upon our bliss. On a bright day, Lily and I opted for a journey to the picturesque countryside. We filled a picnic basket and embarked on a scenic drive, discovering a tranquil meadow during one of our weekend excursions. The locale was idyllic, with wildflowers dancing gracefully in the wind and birds serenading from above. It seemed the ideal haven from life's intricate complications. As we unfurled the picnic blanket and began to unpack our meal, I observed Lily in an unusually quiet mood. Sitting beside her, I tenderly held her hand. I inquired about your well-being, sensing your distress. Her gaze met mine, her eyes seeking answers. "David," she said, contemplating deeply. "Lately, I've been pondering, reflecting on us, our future." My heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean by the future?" Lily sighed, holding my hand. "I love you, David, more than I ever imagined. Yet, I need to confirm if you are genuinely ready to leave Emily behind. I want assurance that your commitment is to us." Her words struck me forcefully, yet I comprehended her sentiments. "Lily," I replied, "I am committed to you. Emily will remain in my past where she belongs. My future lies with you." Tears brimmed in her eyes as she smiled. I needed to hear that. Together, we shall create something magnificent without any lingering shadows. I wrapped my arms around her, pressing a kiss on her forehead. "We will, Lily. I swear it." As we clung to each other, I felt a sense of resolution. The past may have molded me, but it did not own me. With Lily by my side, I was prepared to seize the future eagerly. Our bond deepened, and we began discussing our future plans. Moving in together, traveling, and even marriage were topics that surfaced in our conversations. Each discussion strengthened our connection. One night, as we lounged on the couch watching a film, Lily turned towards me with a contemplative gaze. "David," she said thoughtfully, "I've been thinking about something I'd like to do with you." "What's that?" I inquired, intrigued. "How about we sign up for a dance class together?" Her eyes gleamed with enthusiasm. "I've always dreamed of learning ballroom dancing, and I believe it could be an excellent way for us to bond more closely." A blend of excitement and apprehension stirred within me. "Dancing. That's unexpected, but for you, I'm willing to give it a go." Lily's face brightened with delight at my response. Wonderful. Let's do it. Promising it would be enjoyable, we enrolled in a ballroom dance course at a nearby studio the following week. The initial sessions were clumsy with many blunders and bouts of laughter, yet we eventually found our stride. Dancing with Lily was thrilling, symbolizing the essence of our bond. We learned to synchronize our movements, providing mutual support and discovering delight in the progress. One evening, following a noteworthy dance practice, we strolled hand in hand towards the car. The moonlight bathed the street in a gentle radiance, creating a serene ambience. Lily paused, turning to face me with eyes sparkling with affection. "David," she whispered, "this has been one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life. I'm overjoyed that we're doing this together." I drew her near, feeling the heat of her body against mine. "I feel the same way, Lily. You've added so much happiness to my existence." We shared a kiss under the moonlight, the surroundings melting away. In that instant, I recognized our destiny, our love being robust enough to surmount any hurdle. As time progressed, we continued to dance, figuratively as well as literally. We confronted hardships and rejoiced in triumphs, always bolstering each other. Our bond deepened, and the certainty of our future together increased. One day, during our mountain hike, I felt an intense wave of emotion. The landscape's beauty mirrored the splendor of the life we were constructing together. I halted and faced Lily, my heart racing. "Lily," I began, my voice quivering slightly, "although we've talked about our future extensively, there's something crucial I need to express." She looked at me with curiosity and affection. "What is it, David?" Taking a deep breath, I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "Lily," I continued, "you have introduced so much brightness into my life. You aid me in healing, growing, and rediscovering joy. I can't fathom my life without you." Overwhelmed by tears, she stammered, clapping her hands over her mouth. "Oh my goodness, David, yes, yes, I'll marry you." As I slid the ring onto her finger, a torrent of joy and relief swept through me. We sealed our commitment with a kiss. In that instant, I was certain we were embarking on a new chapter, one brimming with love, optimism, and endless opportunities. Walking down the mountain hand in hand, I felt an immense gratitude. The path had been arduous and fraught with obstacles, but it led me to Lily. United, we prepared to confront whatever the future might hold, embracing each moment with open hearts. The ensuing months leading up to our engagement were a maelstrom of planning and elation. Lily and I were engrossed in the minutiae of our impending wedding, yet we never lost sight of the odyssey that had brought us here. Our relationship, tempered by past hardships and present recovery, grew more robust. One evening, as we lounged together on the porch of our new dwelling, Lily rested her head on my shoulder, emitting a contented sigh. "Look at how far we've advanced," she whispered. I encircled her with my arm, smiling. "Indeed, it's been quite an odyssey, hasn't it? But I wouldn't give up any part of it." As we admired the sunset, my thoughts strayed to the experiences that had molded our lives. The deception, the sorrow, the bouts of uncertainty, and the eventual recovery. Each stage was crucial, guiding us to the joy we now cherish. Our wedding day was ideal. Encircled by friends and kin, we pledged our vows beneath a flower-laden canopy. Megan and Ryan stood beside me, their loyalty unwavering. Emily was present too, bestowing her silent approval. The past no longer held sway over me. I had progressed, as had she. After the ceremony, we danced to our favorite tune, and I murmured in Lily's ear, "Thank you for having faith in us." She smiled, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Thank you for picking us," she replied. Years morphed into decades, and our life journeyed harmoniously. We encountered difficulties, as all partners do, but we weathered them together, drawing solace from our bond. The scars of the past faded, leaving behind wisdom and fortitude. One day, Megan and Ryan dropped by in our living room. They had blossomed into remarkable young adults, and I felt a sense of immense pride. We chuckled over the photos, reminiscing about the day and the path that led us here. "Dad, I'm so glad you found happiness once more," Megan said, her voice brimming with sincere affection. "Me too, my dear one," I replied, giving her hand a comforting squeeze. Ryan concurred with a nod. You imparted valuable lessons about resilience and love, Dad, he added. Lily smiled, her hand on my knee. Thank you. She acknowledged our display of mutual support and understanding that left us feeling proud. The evening unfolded with shared stories and aspirations, filling the room with laughter and love. It was a stark contrast to the apprehension and suffering of times past. We had crafted a new world for ourselves, one abundant in joy and optimism. Later that night, Lily, looking thoughtful, posed a question to me. David, do you sometimes ponder over how life could have been if events unfolded differently? Pausing to reflect, I said, everything we faced led us here. I wouldn't alter the past. She nodded in agreement, her eyes expressing understanding. Our history molded us, but it doesn't dictate our identity. We've become stronger because of it. As we nestled in each other's embrace, a wave of profound gratitude washed over me. Light often caught us off guard, yet guided us towards necessary destinations. Love re-emerged for me, not only through Lily, but in myself and the life we were constructing jointly. Our future was a blank slate, which we were filling with the brilliant hues of hope. Love and fortitude were our themes. The past had its role, but now our attention was on the present and what lay ahead. As I slipped into slumber, I silently thanked the cosmos for introducing Lily to me. She became my pillar, my compass, and my deepest affection. As we progressed together, I knew that whatever came our way, we would confront it unitedly. Another story right now. 17 years vanish astonishingly fast. One moment you're crossing your own home's threshold, a place you both adorn together, where each creaky stair tells a tale, and the next, you're merely a ghost at the doorway. That was me, dumbfounded, gazing at Isla, my former wife apparently, as she laughed, more like a sitcom intrusion than our life's disintegration. No lengthy discussion, no tears, only her terse, biting words, "You need to leave, Eli. It's over." And there by her side, reclining on the couch I had laboriously refinished, was Grant, the man who had replaced me. His boots, still caked with beach mud, sat on the table I had crafted during the summer we lost our initial pet. The grooves in the woods seemed more profound now. I didn't contest. I didn't weep. I walked up the stairs silently, as if the burden of 17 years had suddenly seeped into my bones. The room still carried her scent, a mix of vanilla and sierras. I retrieved my old army duffel from the closet, the one with the broken zipper I'd long promised to mend. I packed methodically, gathering shirts, jeans, socks, a sweater she'd gifted me during our 5th Christmas. It wasn't about delaying. It was about maintaining composure to prevent my hands from shaking. From below, I heard their voices, her laughter now more subdued, his deeper. They were bantering about the house. Grant suggested remodeling, as if this place required a design overhaul rather than healing. I closed the bag, cast one lingering glance around the room, and made my way downstairs. Isla was pouring the Pinot I'd bought for our anniversary last month. She didn't react when I passed her. She barely acknowledged me, flipping through channels as if he owned the place. At the door, I hesitated. The photos on the wall returned my gaze, memories of us hiking the gorge, Isla at the spring farmers market, our trip to Moab. Throughout our shared existence, she cast me aside as if discarding lawn trimmings. I could have bellowed, pressed for explanations. Yet, what was the purpose? So, I retreated to the open air. The twilight of Oregon descended, moist, hush-filled, except for the distant ocean's murmur. I shoved my travel bag into the back of the Tacoma I'd nurtured since college and ignited it. My knuckles clenched on the wheel as I reversed, my eyes dry, my heart ablaze. Isla believed she'd fractured me, claimed victory. But she was unaware of the peace within me that doesn't plead. That recalls every detail, that waits. She lacked foresight into what awaited her next. I navigated Harbor Drive, the house shrinking behind me until it became merely a glow in the mist. The atmosphere seemed denser out here, tinged with saltiness, as if the sea was extracting each emotion from me. But I no longer harbored anger. Instead, I felt chillier, more crystalline. If she desired my departure, so be it. She could never envision her ideal life with Grant and his designer footwear. The chapter was far from concluded. A few miles away, I stopped at an antiquated gas station by the cliffs. The flickering neon sign hummed overhead as I shut off the engine and allowed tranquility to envelop me. My phone felt hot in my pocket. I extracted it, scrolled through contacts, and halted at one labeled Red Lantern. A moment's hesitation passed before I typed Initiate. Confirmation received. Proceeding as programmed. The response arrived swiftly. All squadrons good to go. Operation commences at 9 am. I stared at the screen, the blue light illuminating the cabin like a dim flame. 17 years of maintaining a facade. 17 years of holding back and concealing secrets. Isla believed she knew every aspect of me, viewing me simply as Eli, the handyman, the insignificant town resident. She never suspected my past. She never inquired, and I never disclosed it. She was unaware of the late nights, the encrypted data drives, the locked briefcase beneath the workshop's floorboards. She appreciated me being straightforward. She preferred the less complex version of myself. Yet, that simpler self was no longer present. Once more, I turned the key. The engine roared to life, as if it had been waiting longingly. I joined the highway, heading towards the south, passing sleepy fishing settlements and shuttered surf cabins. The road ahead loomed dark, but my thoughts remained unclouded. No more deception. Isla's final words resonated within me. Depart. Her smirk hinted at victory. It seemed as if Gran had effortlessly replaced me, just as one might change a light bulb. He could have the house, the table, the wine, but he didn't know with whom he was dealing. Neither did Isla. My phone screen flickered, displaying the solitary word, activate. A message symbolizing the end of my silence. Tomorrow, Isla would awaken under the impression she had tidied up. However, she was mistaken. She hadn't expelled me. Instead, she freed me. The consequences, they were already set in motion. Into the night, my past dissolving behind the blur of coastal mist, I continued my journey 1 mile at a time. According to plan, a message from the Red Lantern illuminated my screen. All teams are ready. Phase 1 commences at Zonine Zizad. Reality was unfolding. No longer just theory. I scrutinized the words, fearing they might pierce through my phone's screen. I had prepared for this moment, dreaded it too. Yet, it had arrived, and Isla had provided me with the ideal means to disappear. To her, I was a quiet carpenter, adept at restoring antique boats and mending silent objects. She was unaware of my hidden injuries from falls off scaffolding or my nights spent far beyond the city limits in covert vans or secret debriefings at clandestine drop-off points. She didn't inquire, I didn't disclose. It was safer, cleaner that way. After another 30 minutes on Highway 101, I switched to a twisty forest path through the pines. Several deer swiftly crossed my car's path, illuminated by the headlights. The road terminated at a gate merging with the woods. I punched in the code instinctively, hearing the pad chirp, and the metal arm swung open. The cabin resembled an abandoned ranger outpost, weathered wooden planks fading to gray, the porch seeming to droop as if it hadn't borne weight for years. Yet, the tranquility surrounding it was intentional. Inside, it remained as I remembered it. Minimalist. A bed. A table. A secure steel case concealed beneath the floorboards. A faint hum emanated from the backup battery systems supporting the communication equipment. I placed my bag near the wall and stood still for a while, absorbing the chorus of crickets outside. The air carried scents of cedar and moss, and for the first time in hours, I relaxed. I verified the encrypted line. It was active. No interruptions. No malfunctions. We were operational. I helped myself to some old coffee from the emergency tin and perched on the edge of the bed, gazing at the pine ceiling above me. 44, I never imagined you would find me concealed within a desolate federal area, while my wife was sipping Chardonnay with a man who seemed to have stepped out of a high-end car advertisement. Isla had never shown interest in my work. She found it monotonous. She preferred genuine men, individuals who didn't return home smelling like sawdust and silence. Ironically, Grant, her newfound wine companion, he had been buried in my files for nearly a year. Illicit offshore transfers. A shell company in Vancouver still lingering within the shadow of some ambiguous contracts tied to a property management group, but with links to a more sinister organization in the Balkans. Grant wasn't merely a home wrecker with flawless teeth, he was my case. And Isla, she unwittingly placed herself at its core. Whether she recognized it or not, the woman who discarded me from her life had transformed our lives into a federal crime scene. Phase 1 was imminent, and this time I wasn't merely an observer. I walked across the cabin, my footsteps echoing on the worn floorboards. The room was silent except for the constant hum of an old refrigerator in the corner and the occasional groan as the wind pressed against the walls. I ventured into the compact kitchen area where there was a sink, mini stove, and a noisy refrigerator. Inside, I discovered an expired can of root beer. Despite its age, it was still cold enough. I opened it and took a long drink. The sweetness and fizz helped clear my mind. I contemplated what was to come. 9 precisely when 3 black SUVs with tinted windows would arrive, carrying agents in windbreakers and boots. They'd knock once. Isla would open the door, half asleep in her robe, possibly sipping coffee, and then she'd pause at the sight of the badges. Grant, naturally, would try to remain calm. Yet, men like him always did, until they realized the federal agents weren't bluffing. I almost smiled, but only almost. On the couch, I retrieved a worn leather journal from my bag, its edges frayed and spine barely holding together. It contained years of scraps, names, dates, locations enough to jog memories upstairs. Landing on a note penned months prior, G.L. Grant Lawman, I had noted him before Isla deemed him her midlife revelation. He surfaced in a case file under a false company, dealing with crypto through real estate transactions that never materialized. I tagged him and waited until he appeared in my own living room. Tapping the page gently, I gazed at those initials. Isla believed she had discarded me like waste, that she was rebuilding her life. Unbeknownst to her, the game was already underway, and she wasn't the one manipulating the pieces. I placed the notebook aside and glanced at my phone. No new updates. Perfect. That meant everyone was in place. No errors. No shocks. I slouched back, finding solace in the shelter's icy quietude. The refrigerator droned on. The wind stirred the trees outside. For a moment, my eyelids fluttered shut, not from fatigue, but from understanding. She never truly understood me, and now she would. I crushed the lifeless can in my grip and discarded it into the bin. Then I sprawled on the couch, one arm cradling my head. Sleep eluded me, yet it was unnecessary. I'd bided my time long enough. Upon awakening, the cabin was frigid, a chill that penetrated beyond the skin, encircling the bones. I rose gradually, squinting at the feeble gray light seeping through the blinds. It was 6:47 am, barely 2 hours until Phase 1 commenced. The time was approaching. GL today marked the day when Grant Lawman would meet his downfall along with Isla, whether she recognized it or not. I stood and stretched, my back making a sound like desiccated wood breaking underfoot. The cabin carried an aroma of damp cedar and stale air, but it had served its purpose. I entered the kitchen, filled a cracked mug with water, and consumed it swiftly. There was no coffee in this hideout, not a place for comforts. The adrenaline had already surged, crisp and biting like high-altitude wind. I glanced at my phone. 7:12, red lantern, team prepared. Meeting point at 08 Susan. Black location verified. Everything was progressing smoothly. I sent a brief message back. On the way, laces tied, jacket zipped, I retrieved my keys from the hook and stepped outdoors. The cold bit into me, Oregon spring retaining its winter chill. Birdsong echoed through the woods, faint but consistent. The truck stood in the gravel lot, frost forming on its windshield. I ignited the engine and let it purr, clearing the glass with my flannel sleeve. It was a brief drive to the meeting point, approximately 20 minutes to an abandoned warehouse near Coos Bay. No signs, no cameras. In the agency's playbook, merely another echo. The memory of Isla's laughter drifting from my window last night, Grant's smug figure lounging on my porch, returned to haunt me as I navigated the dirt road, tires crunching against gravel. For 18 years, I constructed a home for her real wood and pure intentions. And yet, she discarded it all for a smile and a sports car. However, What truly hurt wasn't this act of betrayal. No, it was the cruel turn of events. For Isla's new partner was not just some casual acquaintance from her yoga class. He was my case Grant Lorman. I've spent 3 years trailing him through a financial maze so intricate, only sonar could reach its depths. On the surface, he appeared as a puppet for hedge funds, with slicked hair and custom suits, laughing in yacht clubs. But beneath this facade, he was moving millions for international syndicates' dirty crypto, forged art, property fronts in Montenegro. A glossy mule dressed like GQ. We had once been close, intimately so. 6 months ago, Isla entered accompanied by Grant, whom she proudly presented. My soulmate, she gleaned. I nearly swallowed my beer improperly. However, I uttered nothing. I couldn't. I wouldn't. She perceived me as a taciturn problem solver, a well-compensated government analyst with lackluster coffee and monotonous commute, and I allowed her to maintain that image. Because the reality, the less she was aware, the more beneficial it was for both of us. However, I hadn't anticipated Isla becoming enmeshed in this situation so deeply. At precisely 7:58 a.m., I pulled into the warehouse parking lot, gravel crackling under my tires. A neat row of black SUVs were already parked along the perimeter fence, the early sunlight reflecting off their bonnets. Rowan was propped against one, a cigarette hanging from the corner of his mouth, seeming as if he hadn't slept since Tuesday. "Good morning, sunshine," he mumbled, flicking ash without looking up. "You appear to be in a state." I nonchalantly responded. "Slept poorly last night." I suspected as much. Inside, Director Keller towered over a folding table littered with screens, topographical maps, and a bulky stack of files labeled G. Lorman Active. He was in his 60s, with cropped silver hair, a man who could command silence just by entering a room. Every word chosen carefully. He looked up from behind his glasses. "Are you absolutely sure about this?" he queried. "She was your wife." "Once," I responded, keeping my tone emotionless. "She had taken her own path." He offered a single nod in acknowledgement. "No pity, just confirmation," he added. Rowan slapped me on the shoulder. "Let's put an end to this scoundrel," he said, grinning. I didn't return his smile, but a cold determination welled up within me. This was no longer just a takedown, it was closure. We went over the final details of the operation. Surveillance had Isla's house under constant watch from every angle. Agents were positioned 2 blocks away, ready to move at 9 o'clock sharp. Another team would storm Lorman's fake investment firm downtown. I had complete access to his financial accounts, connections to shell companies, and an audio recording of him bragging about laundering money through offshore art dealers in Croatia. I constructed the case from scratch after 3 years of patience, late nights, and covert surveillance. Everything was about to unravel. Keller handed me a headset. "You're on feed control," he said. "If things get messy, call the play." I put it on, feeling my usual composure return, cool, clear, precise. This is where I excel. As we stepped into the van, I thought about Isla. She had never seen this side of me, the one who takes down cartels and outmaneuvers billionaires laundering tainted money. To her, I was just Eli, forgetful with trash pickup and quiet at home. She never inquired about the burner phones or the nights I returned shaken from something I couldn't discuss. Now, her perfect man, her husband, was leading her straight into a federal whirlwind. She wouldn't be able to talk her way out of this. The van door closed behind us, screens flickered on. 8:45 a.m., the live feed displayed Isla's tranquil house, her car and his parked in the driveway, both unsuspecting. In 15 minutes, events would unfold. I settled back, my headset vibrating in my ear, focus fixed on the screen. This was my concealed, sharp, ruthless realm. Isla believed she'd humiliated me last night, but she had no inkling of my secret life. She was moments away from discovering it. Unbeknownst to her, I'd been anticipating this moment. Grant Warman's entry into my house wasn't a breach of trust. It was the missing puzzle piece I required. The van rolled down the suburban road, tires droning on asphalt. Phase 1 initiated. Strapped in, headset securely on, I breathed deeply, calmly. The vehicle reeked of stale coffee and cold metal. My gaze didn't waver from the screens before me. 8:55 am. Minutes to go until the countdown ended. Two camera angles on the monitors tracked the house. The porch remained still, shrouded by curtains. It was the same porch I had meticulously sanded and painted 6 years ago. The driveway remained unchanged, except her Subaru was now next to his shiny black BMW. I could almost hear Grant boasting about the horsepower in his dreams. Most likely they were still in bed, enveloped in sheets I purchased, slumbering in a house I constructed. However, this wasn't about heartache. It was no longer that. It was business. Static filled my earpiece. Rowan complained about local congestion. Then a voice interrupted, clear and commanding. Team Alpha at standby. Team Beta, downtown office secured. Waiting for the signal, I inhaled deeply, keeping my voice even. Execute. The screens flashed immediately. Three black SUVs surged onto view, tires grinding against asphalt. Doors sprang open and agents exited, moving with discipline. Two headed toward the front entrance, two circled around back, one positioned at the corner for visual confirmation. Agent Torres, stern and meticulous, pounded on the door. FBI, search warrant. Open up. There was nothing. Then a flicker, curtains moved. Isla's face, wide-eyed and groggy, appeared through the crack. She gently pushed open the door, wrapped in a robe, her hair disheveled from slumber. "What's happening?" she queried, her voice quivering. Torres showed no sign of surprise. "FBI, warrant, step aside," he commanded. He advanced. She retreated, gripping her robe close to her body. A few moments passed, and Grant emerged from the stairs, bare-chested and groggy. What in the world? Then he noticed the vests, badges, firearms, and his face paled. He turned and fled. Rookie error. Agents were waiting at the back. Before he could take 5 steps, they apprehended him, arresting Grant Warman. Cuffs clicked. Charges rattled off one after another. Racketeering, fraud, money laundering. His mouth fell open, expressionless. No objections, just resignation. Isla's voice echoed through the audio, growing high and piercing. "What's going on? Someone tell me, Eli?" But I remained silent, not responding just yet. She was starting to grasp the reality I had kept hidden from her. The man she believed was beyond her reach. Yet she found herself entangled in it. She revolved in place, barefooted on the hardwood floor, observing as officers invaded the house, her house, rummaging through drawers, flipping cushions, unzipping bags, labeling evidence. No one responded to her queries. They didn't need to. On the screen before me, I witnessed her disintegrate. Isla sank onto the couch, her robe tightly clutched, her hands quivering in her lap. Her eyes darted from officer to officer, seeking something recognizable, something that would clarify the chaos she was witnessing. But understanding eluded her completely. Not yet. It would. Meanwhile, the downtown operation was reaching its zenith. Grant's workplace, a symbol of steel, glass, and arrogance, was teeming with officers. Desks were being emptied, servers packed away, flash drives tagged and sealed in evidence bags. His staff stood bewildered, silent, while officers ransacked the minimalist disorder. The office secured, came the report from the lead of the beta team over the communications. All assets confiscated. Regarding transport, I subtly acknowledged without visual confirmation. Alpha team, report. House secured. Torres responded. Principal suspect apprehended. Secondary suspect detained for interrogation. That was Isla. The monitor displayed her now, stiffening in her seat as an agent questioned her calmly. She blinked back tears, her voice wavering. "I don't know anything," she repeated. "This is my house. You can't do this." "But they could. We could. We had the warrants, intelligence, and 3 years of preparatory work that culminated in this very moment." She remained unaware of my involvement. Rowan elbowed me, indicating Isla on the screen. "She's falling apart," he whispered, half smirking. I didn't reciprocate his sentiment. Observing her disintegration was not gratifying. Rather, it was predictable. On the feed, agents pulled back a painting from the master bedroom, one I had hung myself long ago. Behind it, a safe, Grant's hidden cash. Effortlessly opening it, they extracted stacks of cash, a disposable phone, and documents that needed no viewing to comprehend. Isla's visage paled upon sight. "It's not mine," she lamented. "I didn't know it was there." Whether she did or not is irrelevant. By allowing him into her life, she had become involved willingly or unwittingly. She smiled through the dinners, accepted the presents, overlooked the indications. Regardless of her awareness, she had become a part of it. On screen, Grant was pushed into Suv's back seat, sweat pouring down his neck. The self-assuredness had vanished. "I need my attorney," he demanded. "Fine. Speak up." I settled back in my chair, headset securely fitted, eyes on Isla. She sat motionless amidst the remnants of our former abode, muttering, "This can't be unfolding." I recalled last night, her laughter, her standing in the doorway and dismissively instructing me to depart, as if I held no significance. She believed she was in command, that she had humiliated me. Now observe her predicament. The radio crackled. Evidence collected, transport in progress. Hallway of the office next. I questioned Rowan. His grin, lopsided and menacing. Enough to convict for decades, possibly longer. I nodded in agreement. Excellent. On the screen, agents worked methodically, sealing evidence containers, fitting seamlessly into the SUVs. Isla was being escorted towards a vehicle, no handcuffs, but she wasn't free. She wouldn't escape unscathed from this. "Where are you taking me?" she asked, her voice now softer and weaker. "Station," the agent replied. "We have questions." The screen went black as the operation wound up neatly. No loose ends, no suspicion. The van was quiet as silence took over. Rowan offered a pack of gum. I took a piece. The mint penetrated the haze in my mind. "You all right?" he asked, watching me sidelong. Yes, and indeed I was. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice, about wrapping up all loose ends. For 17 years, she didn't know who I truly was, but she would soon find out. The vehicle reversed direction towards the warehouse. The sun was fully up now, painting golden lines across the waking metropolis. The skyline streamed past the windows, showing strip malls, traffic lights, and quiet dog walkers with steaming coffee cups. The initial phase was accomplished. The dominoes were toppling, and I was the one who triggered them. Rowan hummed softly, tapping the steering wheel as the vehicle rolled over uneven pavement. I remained silent, the headset now in my lap, screens dimmed, our operation concluded. Grant was arrested. The house demolished. Isla on her way for interrogation. My chest felt heavy, but it wasn't anxiety. It was burden. Recollection. Completion. Then my phone vibrated. A message from Isla. "What have you done?" All caps, no punctuation. As if she was shouting into the void. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over her name. Rowan looked over, grinning. "She's panicking, isn't she?" I didn't respond. Because she had no idea. "Not yet," I mumbled, pushing the phone into my jacket. It buzzed again, another call ignored. As we pulled into the gravel lot, the warehouse came into view. The sky was fully awake, but my heart remained steady. Inside, the team was already at work, unpacking boxes tagged as evidence. Laptops, hard drives, piles of paper from desk drawers and safes. The air was filled with dust and the aroma of burnt coffee. Director Keller beckoned me over. "Well executed," he gruffly acknowledged, gesturing towards the growing stacks. "Lorman's case is closed. We have enough to bury him thoroughly." I nodded curtly, my gaze sweeping the table. There was the foam from the burner in the bedroom safe, the encrypted flash drives, his invoices for consulting work, each one a trail I had followed for years. I suppressed the tension in my voice. "What about her?" Keller shrugged. "She's being held. Claims she didn't know anything." He arched an eyebrow. My phone buzzed again, another message. "Respond." This time, I looked, noticing her tone had changed from anger to panic. She was likely in an interrogation room, still wrapped in that same robe, trying to decipher how her fantasy disintegrated overnight. I remained silent. Instead, I delved into my camera roll and selected a photo from earlier, a training drill where I wore full gear next to Rowan. In the background on the monitor, a fuzzy still from one of Grant's tapped calls displayed Isla's face mid-laugh. I hadn't intended to use it this way, but now it was ideal. I sent it without any caption. The phone rang moments later. Isla appeared on the screen. I let it ring twice before answering. Yes. Her voice was uneven, breath-catching. What is that picture? Eli, I asked calmly, what did you do? I stood there watching an agent seal a file folder with evidence tape. You said no papers were needed, I repeated evenly. You were correct. She was about to spin it, but I terminated the call before she could. A pause ensued, and for the first time in years, it echoed with tranquility. Rowan ambled over, still chewing gum. Had she deciphered my message, he inquired, smirking. She's coming around, I replied, tucking the phone into my pocket. He chuckled. Man, you're frozen, I didn't respond. Frozen wasn't accurate. I wasn't aiming to shatter her. Not truly. But after 16 years of being unseen, I wasn't providing explanations now. She'd comprehend it all. On record. Under oath. And for once, she'd grasped the essence. Keller summoned us to the briefing room, a cramped area boasting a scarred whiteboard, metal chairs, and a faint aroma of aged coffee. The screens played silent footage from the search at Isla's residence, rotating through entry and confiscation angles. Lorman's under examination, Keller stated, rapping on a file folder. Already negotiating. Attempting to strike a bargain. I didn't so much as bat an eye. Men like Grant crumbled when handcuffed, and his associates stopped acting cordial. What does he mean? I inquired. Keller unfolded the file. He suggests your wife was involved. She's accused of handling accounts. The gifts, attempting to divert suspicion onto her. My jaw clenched. She wasn't, I stated emphatically. She's innocent, not corrupt. Keller raised an eyebrow, but didn't press further. We'll investigate. Let the evidence speak. I pondered. About Isla and the things she was unaware of, never questioned. The expensive bracelet. The imported luxury vehicle. That influential figure Mykonos she frequently displayed on social media. I had the receipts. I knew how extensive the funds were. She didn't realize what she was involved in, but she was implicated all the same. The figures didn't lie. $140,000 worth of gifts linked directly to Lawman's shell corporations. The vacation property was a cover, not a timeshare, a money laundering route. Perhaps she thought she was merely enjoying the benefits of dating a wealthy man. But privileges come with trails of paperwork. Paper is indifferent to intentions. My phone rang once more, another call from her. I let it go to voicemail, letting it end. Her voice resounded in my memory demanding, hurt, confused. She'd find her answers, but not from me, not at this moment. Keller gave me a mug of scorched black coffee. You're on hold for the time being, he said. Paperwork and de-escalation were needed. The media was already circling. I conceded. Agreed. I had done my duty. As everyone left to debriefs and data analysis, I remained. Observed the screens flicker. On the whiteboard, someone wrote G, Lawman in red beneath a list of charges that filled nearly half the board. My marriage had ended long ago. But this was the funeral. Isla believed she'd exposed my true self last night, thought she saw the complete man. Yet, that image I sent, that was the truth. She never made an effort to see more. She would call again. Perhaps next time I'd respond, but not now. For now, the silence belonged to me. It was only just starting. Quiet had settled over the warehouse. Morning bustle faded with the team shifting onto new duties. I remained in the briefing room, now solitary, as humming fluorescent lights filled the air. The whiteboard still glared back at me, emblazoned with G, Lawman written boldly above a waterfall of felony charges. My cold coffee sat untouched, yet sipped. Its bitterness kept me grounded. My phone lay face down on the table, eerily silent after hours of incessant ringing. Isla no longer called. Perhaps she had finally reached her limit. Or perhaps she was still detained, facing questions she wasn't ready to answer. Either way, I didn't care. Not at that moment. I slouched back in my chair, gaze wandering towards the file Keller left behind, Grant's entire world laid bare, dissected, cataloged, packed away, and sealed. My work. 3 years in the making. The door squeaked open. Rowan appeared, chewing gum as always. Interrogation begins, he announced. Lawman is in room 3. Torres was already there. I rose from my seat, boots echoing on the concrete as we traversed the hallway, passing agents huddled over laptops and evidence kits. The air here was crisp, confined, unmerciful. Bare steel interrogation rooms filled the space. One-way glass. No solace. I paused at the window. Inside, Grant Lawman was handcuffed to a table. His tailored suit and charisma were absent, replaced by county orange jumpsuit, unkempt hair, and an anxious expression that suggested he knew things were about to worsen. Torres sifted through a folder across from him, as calm as ever. "You have much to share, Grant," he stated evenly. "Let's hear it." Grant leaned forward, the sound of his cuffs against metal echoing. "I will speak," he said hastily, "but I want a deal. I am not in charge. She is." McConaughey's remained impassive. "You are the one restrained. Speak now." And so he did. "It's Isla," he disclosed. "She managed the accounts. She advocated for the car, the villa. It was stated we should appear as a genuine couple. You were the one who suggested I acquire the McConaughey's property." I gritted my teeth, hiding my anger. He was fabricating, and ineptly so. Isla couldn't manage a digital wallet if her livelihood depended on it. Still, he persisted. "She possesses a safety deposit box. Downtown. You'll locate the documents inside." Torres scribbled this down without a word. "Is there more?" he inquired. Grant nodded enthusiastically. Everything was her decision. I simply followed suit. I shifted my gaze from the window, my jaw tense. Rowan let out a low whistle. "He's setting her up for failure." "Indeed," I mumbled. "It won't succeed." I knew Isla wasn't innocent. She'd embraced comfort and glamour, but she wasn't the puppeteer, merely collateral. And now she was ensnared in the aftermath. She wasn't a strategist, just covetous. Blinded by her new soulmate, she never questioned the source of the funds once. The Bureau would swiftly untangle this mess. They had the paper trail linking $140,000 to Isla, tracing back to Grant Lorman's illicit funds. Under Isla's name were assets, proof of her association with dirty money. The ostentatious diamond necklace she flaunted at charity events, the luxury SUV parked where our old garage once stood, the villa in Mykonos she boasted about to her sister, it was all damning evidence against her. Regardless of whether she fully understood the situation, it was enough to implicate her. Leaving the observation wing, I headed back to the briefing room, seeking fresher air devoid of the tang of recycled adrenaline. My phone vibrated. It wasn't Isla this time, but Mike, my lawyer. I picked up. "What's new?" He was terse, all business. "She wants to see you." It was Isla who had called your office. On hold, Mike confirmed. "She didn't say much," he continued, "only that it's urgent. She hasn't been charged yet, but they are investigating, and she's afraid." I remained silent for a moment. "You don't owe her anything," Mike added. 17 years doesn't simply flip off like a switch, he was correct. Yet, perhaps, I yearned to let her see me in my genuine self. "Proceed," I instructed. "I'll be there." The conversation concluded. I sighed and glanced at the file on my desk. Lorman was still chattering away in the interrogation room, sounding like he was gasping for air. The safety deposit box, I suspected it was a bluff. But the villa, that was genuine. We'd flagged the shell company linked to the deed weeks ago. A $2 million money laundering operation tucked away on the cliffs of Mykonos. Isla had posted dozens of happy selfies there, hashtagging #blessed as if she was the leading actress in her own romantic comedy. Now it served as proof. Her name was on the paperwork. Probation, possibly something more severe. Either way, she had been ensnared, caught in a trap designed for Grant, yet tight enough to ensnare her too. An hour later, Mike sent the meeting details, 2 p.m. Bureau conference room. I spent the duration examining proof, anonymous phone calls, stacks of cash, photos, records. Everything was spotless, yet damning. By the time I parked at the station, I felt confident, unwavering. The structure stood ominously in metal and concrete, chilly, impersonal. An agent escorted me inside and guided me to a conference room, pale walls, steel seats, the typical layout. I sat, waited, then the door swung open and Isla entered. No handcuffs, but she appeared shattered. Her hair was a mess, her face pale, with red-rimmed eyes. Her designer robe was gone, replaced by jeans, a hoodie, and the vacant expression of someone who hadn't slept. She halted in the doorway when she saw me. Her lips parted, then closed. I motioned towards the chair. Sit. She complied slowly, as if the floor might vanish beneath her. They claim I'm part of this, she murmured, eyes darting about. That I was involved. But I didn't know, Eli. I swear I didn't know. I said nothing. Just watched. She fidgeted, twisting her hands before finally leaning forward. It was you, she whispered, her voice trembling. The operation. The arrest. It was you. I gave a single nod in response. Yes. Tears welled up in her eyes, trickling down as her jaw clenched. Why didn't you tell me, she asked, shattered, who you truly were? I leaned back, my voice lifeless. You never inquired. She blinked, taken aback. You never showed concern. And there it was. The truth, stark, conclusive. She stared at me, her body trembling. Her hands formed tight fists on the table. The conference room reeked of old carpet and stale coffee, cold as all government spaces tend to be. The quiet between us echoed loudly. I cared, she said, yet it sounded feeble, even she doubted herself. She cleared her throat. I didn't know it was this. FBI? Surveillance? You're not. You were supposed to be some paper pusher. An analyst. A bookkeeper. Her voice broke higher, as if trying to shift the blame. As if this was somehow my deception. I remained still. I admitted I worked for the government, I stated, cool and precise. You filled in the gaps with what you desired to hear. She shook her head swiftly, as if discarding the truth were easy. That's not fair. You deceived me. I leaned closer, placing my hands together on the table. My tone remained steady. I didn't deceive you, I replied. I shielded you. I kept you out of it. Then there was a pause, allowing the statement to sink in until you let him in. Her expression crumpled at that point. His name didn't need to be spoken. She knew exactly who I referred to. The burden of our shared knowledge hung between us, heavy and decisive. She had made her decisions, accepted his gifts, spent nights at his villa, and now she was seated in a sterile interrogation room, weeping under a hoodie that wasn't hers. And for once, I wasn't the one harboring secrets. She was, and I already knew them all. Isla whispered quietly, her gaze fixed on her quivering hands. She didn't know who he truly was. He was compassionate. He listened. Her voice faltered. You were always distant. Distant. The phrase struck me, yet it didn't cause pain. She wasn't mistaken. I had been absent on countless nights that I could no longer count. Missions, meetings, and covert operations were the reasons for my prolonged absences, things I couldn't share with her. Barriers needed to be constructed, lines I had to prevent her from crossing. I believed I was safeguarding her, and I tried. Repaired the persistent roof leak she always complained about, settled every bill, and endured her chatter about her sister's wedding upheaval and her favorite store sales. However, at some point, she ceased to see me, ceased to perceive me. You found your soulmate, I said calmly. That shattered something within her. She crumpled quickly, uncontrollable sobs, the kind that come when it's too late for change. I didn't intend for this, she panted between sobs. The money, the presents, I thought he was just generous. I didn't realize it was illegal, and I trusted her. For the most part, Isla wasn't a mastermind. She barely scraped by in geometry, let alone navigate money through offshore trusts. Yet, she kept it all despite her protests, succumbing to the indulgence, captivated by its glossiness. Avarice required no intelligence, merely readiness. They claim I might face imprisonment, she lamented, gazing at me with tear-filled eyes. You must aid me. I'm unable. Plain and clear. Now you're entangled. There's proof. Your name is on the villa in the wire transfers. You took his money. She vehemently shook her head. But I was unaware. You know that, right? I suggested, keeping my voice low. Speak up to them, I advised. If you're innocent, you'll be free. The rest was left unsaid. She seemed to stare through me as if I had stabbed her. Haven't you the slightest intention of helping? She inquired, nearly inaudible. Memories of 17 years flooded back. Peaceful Sundays, scorched dinners, that night she slept on my chest amidst a storm. Yet, recollections aren't a means to save. I instructed you to depart, I reminded her, no legal documents necessary. She carried out my action, and it seemed to affect her. Perhaps it was understood at last. I didn't intend it that way, she whispered softly, sobs falling onto the chilly tabletop. I had been angry, reckless. I hadn't considered the consequences. There was nothing more to say. The door creaked open. A young agent entered, sporting a buzz cut and clutching a clipboard. Fresh from Quantico, likely. He glanced at me. Time's up, he said sternly. She needs to return to detention. Isla looked at him, then at me, fear glinting in her swollen eyes. Wait, she pleaded, reaching across the table. Her cold, trembling fingers almost touched mine. Please, don't let them take me. Her voice broke. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I withdrew my hand, slowly and deliberately. I can't rectify this, I told her. You made your decisions. The agent approached. Ma'am. She stood up shakily, smeared mascara tracing her cheeks. As they departed, she looked back once more. She said she hadn't known me, voice trembling. I should have. I didn't, I replied, closing the door behind me. Silence filled the room once more. I remained seated for a moment, gazing at her vacant chair. Her words reverberated, swirling like smoke. I didn't know you. She was correct. But I'd known her in every form, the one who laughed boisterously during brunches, the quiet one when she felt let down, the one who stopped inquiring about my nightly whereabouts. 17 years, and she only saw me clearly once everything fell apart. Standing up, I pushed away from the table. The hallway was cold outside, lined with steel doors and worn linoleum. The young agent nodded as I passed. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Mike, she's distraught. I'm okay, I replied. Yes, and I was. Not joyful, not furious, simply exhausted. She sought a lifeline, forgiveness, but I had none to offer. Not because I loathed her, but because some things cannot be mended with I'm sorry. She had constructed a life alongside Grant, whether she recognized it or not. I dismantled it instead. She must bear the consequences. That was beyond my control. I returned to the warehouse, her words echoing in my mind. Yet they no longer burdened me as before. She acknowledged me now. A pity it took this incident to bring it about. The journey back was silent. The sun climbed higher, gleaming off shop windows in my truck's hood. The heater clattered as usual. I opened the window despite the noise, allowing the wind to flow through. My hands were steady. My mind was clear. She apologized, hoping it could reverse everything. But it couldn't. She is responsible for digging the hole. I merely switched on the lights. Back at the warehouse, the teenager continued with the cleanup operation. Evidence bags, laptops, file boxes from the raids were scattered across long metal tables like war trophies. Rowan beckoned me over, snapping his gum loudly. He presented a folder, saying it was the lawman's sentencing set. This morning, the judge approved it. A span of 22 years involving racketeering, fraud, and conspiracy. I opened it up. Grant had attempted to manipulate some names, including Isla's, within the mod, but the paper trail was unyielding. The evidence against me, all of it my work. 3 years from my life, condensed into a file and a prison sentence. Good, I remarked, closing it firmly. He's finished. Lawman leaned casually on the table edge. What about her? I nonchalantly shrugged. Probation. 3 years. They're adding a financial ethics course for extra measure. No jail? He let out a quiet whistle. That's a lenient sentence. I didn't argue. $140,000 in gifts. Jewelry. The car. The extravagant villa in Mykonos with her name on it. Yet, she was not the mastermind. She merely walked into the trap with her eyes barely open. The Bureau understood this. So did the judge. She benefited from luck. But luck doesn't erase the aftermath. She got off easy, but the consequences still linger. The media was buzzing with activity. The televisions in the storage room were silent, but the images conveyed their own message. Grant in handcuffs. Isla protected by dark sunglasses amidst a throng of reporters. My name found its way into the news broadcasts, despite my refusal to comment on every request. Calls and voicemails came, but I chose not to listen. The limelight has never appealed to me, and it still doesn't. Justice didn't require a television crew. It needed resolution. I retrieved a bottle of water from the back refrigerator and settled into a chair, allowing the background din to recede. Keller approached with his glasses perched low on his nose. The press is swarming around this, he noted, gesturing towards the screens. Are you certain you don't wish to issue a statement? It would benefit the Bureau. I shook my head. Let the narrative unfold on its own. He regarded me for a moment before nodding in agreement. You have earned it. He placed a substantial new file folder on the table, thicker than Grant's. The next case awaits you when you're ready. I didn't touch the file. Instead, I tapped the cover. Soon, I replied. He departed, leaving me once more amidst the din, allowing it to merge indistinctly. The image of Isla resurfaced in my thoughts, not the one weeping, but the one from that concluding night, joyful, assertive, convinced she had triumphed. She claimed no written proof, as if she had terminated things. Yet I was the one who brought it to an end. Presently, Isla was under probation, her partner incarcerated. Her name flashed on local news tickers like a reluctantly read headline. The house demolished, seized for auction alongside Grant Lorman's Mykonos villa and everything else he had managed. I later discovered she was residing at her sister's place on the town outskirts. No more luxury European vehicles or private jet getaways. Only a cramped apartment and a court-ordered financial responsibility course, learning how not to be swayed by the next man with a credit card and tainted wealth. I rose from my desk, straightened my back, and crossed over to the expansive table laden with case debris, electronics, documentation, bag, jewelry. Among the items, my old laptop from home and an unexpected photo frame were found. The photo inside depicted me and Isla at Cannon Beach, a time when we believed in ideals. Our smiles were radiant, our arms intertwined, her hair dancing with the wind. Her gaze seemed to suggest I was her universe. I traced my thumb on the glass before placing it down, face first. The man in that picture no longer existed. Why cling to a specter? My phone buzzed again. Another call from Mike. Press persistently calling. Still fine with no response? I responded, let it pass. He acknowledged with a thumbs up. I pocketed the phone and sighed. The warehouse started wrapping up, agents packing their belongings, the cacophony of conversation gradually transforming into farewells. Rowan approached, discarding a gum wrapper in the bin. Beer, he suggested, as teams were leaving. Kellers were even buying the initial round. I hesitated, then agreed. Yes, I'm in. We left together as the sun vanished behind rooftops, casting an orange glow across the Portland skyline. We found ourselves in a seedy bar a few blocks away, dimly lit with sticky floors and worn-out leather boots. Already deep into their first round when we entered, Torres raised a glass toward me, to the man who brought down Warman. Rowan bellowed, and the place exploded into cheers. I returned a genuine, though subtle smile. The beer was cold, the cacophony familiar. For the first time in months, I wasn't shrouded in solitude. No masks. No secret compartments. Grant was absent. Eastlaw was out, and I remained upright. I lingered until last call, savoring my second drink while they traded war tales. This had become my world now. Not a fractured marriage, not the residue of the past. Simply this. I settled my bill and stepped outside. The night air was crisp, the street peaceful. The headlines would vanish. The messages would cease. Tomorrow I'd open a new case, a fresh start. But tonight I just walked. The city enveloped me like a long-awaited coat that finally fit perfectly. For the first time in a while, I felt like myself anew. Sunlight penetrated through the blinds and pierced my eyes. I grunted, turned over, and snatched my phone. 7:30 am. later than intended sleep. A message from Rowan blinked on the screen. Good night, eh? Work conversations were still ongoing. I smirked and discarded the phone. Last night was lively, beverages, tales, the team toasting, as if I'd achieved something extraordinary. It felt right, oddly so. But now it was back to the real world. I sloughed off the mattress, a mere slab on the floor, and stretched. My back creaked in protest. The kitchen remained partially unpacked, the coffee maker hidden beneath a pile of labeled essentials. I heated water in a dented saucepan and added instant coffee. It tasted like soil, but it did the trick. Leaning against the counter, I sipped gradually, watching the city stir awake. Truck horns resonated in the street below. Delivery vans pulled into loading zones. Individuals hurriedly walked the sidewalks with a typical weekday urgency. The past life, the marriage, the deceitful narratives, the villa in Mykonos, it was all dismantled, sold off. The house, the vehicles, the art, all confiscated. I heard that the money was redirected into a fund for victim compensation. Suits me just fine. I didn't desire it, not a cent of it. My phone vibrated again. This time it was Keller. Office at 9 a.m. for official promotions. I placed my mug aside, a smile tugging at my lips. Included in undercover financial crimes. Following the Mormon case, the higher-ups expedited the paperwork. A bigger title, more complex problems to resolve, and a bit more light on the shadows I previously inhabited. I'd spent 17 years concealed, now moving towards something greater. Not entirely exposed, but nearer. I took a shower, lukewarm water echoing in the pipes, and put on a clean shirt and jeans. No tie, no jacket, only for a promotion meeting and office work. No field work. I picked up my keys and left. In the heart of the district, a bureau structure of glass, steel, and crisp lines towered, appearing both acquainted and frosty. I acknowledged the front guard before ascending to the upper levels. Keller sat in his corner office, the cityscape beyond him expansive. Sit, he ordered, gesturing towards a chair. I obliged. He slided a fresh badge across the desk, bearing my name and new position. Head of Covert, he stated. You're in charge now. Assemble your squad. Choose your missions. The budget is yours. I picked up the badge, sensing its gravity in my hand. Thanks, I replied. Keller nodded in response. Don't mess it up. Later, in the communal area, the team orchestrated a muted festivity. Donuts, mediocre coffee, and wittier banter. Rowan smirked, lifting a cruller in salute. Torres patted my back. New hires hovered nearby, attempting to conceal their awe. They all remembered Lumen's fate, Isla's disappearance, the operation, the headlines. Now they understood who I was too. One of the new agents called me a legend as I walked by, half smiling, a statement that echoed through the air. I merely shook my head, dismissing it. I had merely completed my task. In response, I picked up a glazed donut from the box. Yet, something resonated within me. Not pride, but rather a soft whisper of recognition. This was a type of respect I had never experienced when I was merely Isla's husband. At that time, I was the one who fixed leaky sinks and maintained the lawn. Now, I was something different. After everyone had left, I made my way to my new office. A spacious room, solid desk, even a window not bad for someone who used to document case notes from a cubicle. The file Keller had given me sat forlornly on the corner, waiting. As I opened it, I found a new target, a crypto fraudster operating in the West. Shell companies, false coin launches, real-time money laundering. I flipped through the pages, making notes, the rhythm of my work providing a steady and soothing cadence. A fresh case, a clean slate, my creation from the very beginning. No more tiptoeing around Isla's moods. No longer pretending to be someone I wasn't. My phone buzzed, showing Isla's name. I paused, my thumb hovering over the screen. It was the first message from her since the conference room, the tears, the apologies, the fallout. I'd seen she was still with her sister, attending court-mandated classes. Her name would occasionally appear in local news when there was nothing else to report. I opened the message. Can we talk? Please. I need to say something. Straightforward, weighty. A part of me instinctively wanted to delete it and forget about that life. But 17 years couldn't be erased so easily. I didn't respond. I turned the phone over and returned to the file. The rest of the day passed in a haze, briefings, internal evaluations, a vending machine sandwich. Night fell. The office grew quiet, only a few lights remained lit overhead. I leaned back in my chair and gazed out the window. Portland's skyline glimmered in twilight blue and amber. This life, advancement, team, objective, wasn't the one I had envisioned a year ago, not from that old house, not with someone who never saw beyond the surface. Yet here I found myself. It was mine. I reclaimed the phone and reread her message. I felt compelled to speak up. But what was left to utter? I erased the message. No response. No call back. She had made her decisions. The grant, the money, the deception. I too had chosen. To depart, to destroy, to create anew. The screen darkened. I rose, donned my coat, and closed the office door behind me. The corridor reverberated with my strides as I ventured towards the garage. A fresh start, a tranquil night, and no apparitions to pursue. Outside, the air was crisp and biting, reminiscent of late autumn. The city hummed under streetlights and early traffic. My vehicle roared to life on the second attempt, and I gently shifted it into gear, journeying home as the skyline receded in the rearview mirror. This was the aftermath. Her life in shambles, mine now ascending. In tranquility, the new workspace had transformed into a serene refuge. Minimalist design, uncluttered, in contrast to the cluttered cubicle I had long endured. It was another Monday, a week post-promotion, and I stepped in with coffee from the corner store, robust, luxurious, superior to the instant stuff I'd been consuming at home. The skyline appeared distinct, bolder, clearer, as if it was a reward for my hard-earned efforts. I placed the coffee on the desk, hung my coat on the chair, and opened the folder that awaited me. My recent task, uncovering a crypto scam based in California, a cunning conman orchestrating fake NFT sales, laundering money via shell companies and anonymous wallets. I delved into it, pen poised, ideas pouring like instinctive habits. This was an ending, a definitive separation from the past. My phone remained unresponsive, no calls from Isla. Without apologies or goodbyes, erasing her last message was the clear boundary. I had no regrets. By 9 a.m., the office buzzed with keyboards clattering, phones ringing, intermittent bouts of laughter reverberating through the corridor. Rowan popped his head in, smiling. The boss made his arrival, inquiring casually while flinging a stress ball into the air. I snatched it and returned it, indicating readiness. He leaned against the doorframe, hinting at prepared teams. Newcomers were already circling the crypto expert like sharks. I nodded, tapping on the case file. Briefing scheduled for 10. Bring the best coffee. He mock saluted and departed. I appreciated this. Leading up front, no disguises, no secret lives, just work. I took a sip of my coffee, its warmth comforting me as I delved further into the file. Bryce Digital Arts, encrypted transactions, layered shell accounts complex, but I'd navigated more convoluted trails. Reed Lorman was evidence of that. On time at 10, the team assembled, Rowan, Torres, and two rookies full of nervous energy and keen eyesight. At the whiteboard, marker in hand, I wrote Ethan Bryce, his name heading the list. Age, 34. Resides in Leh, manages Bryce Digital Arts, a front. Looking around the room, each pair of eyes met mine. He's raked in $8 million through fraudulent NFT sales, but it runs deeper. I wanted to track his transactions, his connections, his lifestyle. A wave of focus swept the room. Rowan raised an eyebrow, another readjusted spectacles. I shook my head, offering a small smile. Brilliant, discreet, yet equally tainted. We moved cautiously, methodically laying our groundwork. The briefing dragged on for an hour, questions swirling, timelines taking shape, early leads being tossed like cards in a game we were well versed in. By the end, that familiar fire had rekindled. Not adrenaline, but something more refined. More precise. Purpose. Lunch was a sandwich at my desk, crumbs dusting Ethan Bryce's case file as I jotted notes and compared records. Afternoon melted into a series of phone calls, emails, and discreet acts, chasing warrants, contacting established contacts, unraveling threads linked to Bryce's operation through shell companies. This kind of work silenced my thoughts. There was no space for Isla's voice, her tears, her apologies reverberating from the conference room. She had vanished, serving probation, confined in her sister's spare bedroom with her dignity and ruins, her tale fading from the headlines. The house had been sold, the villa liquidated. Everything we had constructed, dismantled, as if it had never mattered. Perhaps, in hindsight, it hadn't. I no longer followed news updates. The narrative of the covert spouse and the oblivious partner was simply white noise now. Outdated chatter. It was for the best. Around 5, I eased back, arching my neck until it cracked. The office was emptying, the end-of-day hush enveloping it. I picked up my empty mug and walked to the break room. Torres remained by the vending machine, pounding it until a candy bar fell into the tray. "Good initial work, boss?" he inquired, flashing a toothy grin. "Did you have a good day?" I emptied my cup. "Yes, it was." He unwrapped the treat and shrugged. "Apparently, Lorman is appealing the decision." "Let him." I dried my hands. "He's finished." Torres nodded in agreement. "Indeed." Benny departed, still chewing. I hesitated for a moment. The break room was tranquil, save for the gentle dripping sound from the sink. Reed might as well cry about justice. After all, 22 years won't make it any different. The case is watertight. He's gone. Back in my office, I gathered the case file, donned my coat, and turned off the lights. Outside, the city shimmered with a golden hour haze, structures igniting in the final light of day. I locked the door and descended the stairs alone, my footsteps reverberating in the stillness. The truck started up. The commute home was effortless, traffic minimal, the radio humming an unfamiliar indie tune. Upon entering my residence, silence was the dominant tone, punctuated only by the fridge's constant hum. I discarded my equipment, removed my footwear, and filled a glass with water, finding it void of alcohol. No music, no commotion, only tranquility. I stood at the window, observing the street beneath me. Dog walkers, vehicle headlights, an individual running past in neon shoes. Isla's words echoed, no divorce documents required. Just depart. I had done so. I'd abandoned the marriage, the facade, the persona she failed to comprehend. She believed she had triumphed that night. Yet, I extricated myself with something greater, understanding. Dignity. A life now tailored to me. The warrant I served on Grant. It wasn't solely for him. It was for me as well. My own resolution. No judge's stamp was necessary. I had sealed it myself. I placed the glass aside, the case file remaining motionless in my rear. Another objective. Another pursuit. Another opportunity to excel at what I do best. I reclined on the bed, arms behind my head, gazing at the ceiling of my vacant apartment. No phantoms. No sounds. Alone, with work and the path ahead, my farewell has passed. This is what followed suit. It felt fitting. If you've been accompanying me so far, you're aware that my tale isn't merely about capturing a villain or escaping a damaged marriage. It's about rediscovering myself, silently, without accolades. It's about departing from what no longer aligns, even when it's painful. I won't seek your compassion. But if something I've shared, experienced, or endured resonates with your own journey, then I invite your truthfulness. Post a comment. Share what you relinquished. Share when you stopped masquerading, when you ultimately prioritized yourself over comfort or conformity. Speak up, for you, for me, for those still ensnared in their rendition of my former life. And if you're still entangled there, trapped in another's shadow, consider this. What transpires if you let it all crumble and rebuild anew? You might discover freedom on the other side. To those who resonated with this, thank you. Your attention on this narrative holds significant value over any headline or brief news summary. If you have a message from me, feel free to share it here. Express the words that could have made a difference when you were at your most vulnerable. Because authentic words can alter the trajectory of a life. They did for me. Here's my guidance for moving forward. Avoid being jolted into action by a crisis. Don't wait for deception, for a breakdown, for someone else to mark the end. Take charge while you still have the power. Construct something truthful. Depart when it ceases to feel genuine. Embrace love fully, but never diminish yourself to fit someone else's ideal. Since the world doesn't require more people pretending to be content, it demands more individuals courageous enough to embody their true feelings.